Hello everybody, Timeless Traveler here. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to be doing a build showcase. Now previously I was going to do the build showcase and the tutorial in the same video. However, it became a ridiculously long video, so I thought it would be best to split it up into two videos. So this first one is going to be a showcase detailing all the features of the Creeper farm, how it works, why it works the way it does, why it is useful, and why you would want something like this in your world. The next video on the Creeper Crucible is going to be a tutorial on how to put it all together. So without any further ado, let's start the intro of the Creeper Crucible. Introducing the Creeper Crucible, a quad farm design with each section stacking 10 13 by 13 spawn platforms. This farm produces around 600 and 1500 gunpowder per hour without and with looting 3 respectively. With the flick of a switch, the Creeper Crucible redirects the creepers into open sky chambers for charged creeper conversion. From there, another switch securely sends them to the Nether for Wither Skull farming. While it only produces an average of 42 levels per hour from level 0, there is the added feature of incinerating the XP to prevent any lag. The same goes for any gunpowder if the storages become full, also known as overflow protection. The Creeper Crucible gets its name from the ability to put said creeper through all methods of farming for your various needs. And we're back. Welcome everybody. Again, I am Timeless Traveler. Thank you all for coming to my channel and watching this video. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and slap that notification bell if you have not already. So now we got the intro out of the way, so let's go ahead and get into the tour of the Creeper Crucible. So at a glance, this is people that have been building creeper farms in the past. You may be familiar with this design. There's really only two ways, to my knowledge, to build strictly creeper spawn platforms. This is the cheaper way. The other way is to use water streams with a bunch of scaffolding. So this one I think is a bit easier to build. It's also a lot easier to navigate, I think, in a survival world. But these platforms are all 13 by 13, and we stack them up by 10. And we have it all gathered into your collection pad. We have the trident killers down here. So currently AFK mode is on, and we'll get into all the different modes in the control panels later. But AFK mode is on, which means our trident killers are active. When that happens, of course, it's going to kill all of our creepers, and because it is on top of glass panes, then that means the XP and the gunpowder will drop down into water streams. And what we did as far as item collection, storage is really up to the individual. I prefer storage silos, but we have our hopper minecarts in every single branch or farm or wing or chamber, whatever word is you want to use that is best for you. We connect it all with hoppers, and then from there you can put it into any sort of storage that you want. I personally just prefer using the storage silo, but if you have some other method, then of course you can do that as well, just as long as we connect all of our all of our hopper minecarts together through some method of hoppers or item streams. And while we're down here on the topic of rates, so after testing it for an hour, I ran it 1 hour without looting 3, and we got ourselves about 670 gunpowder with 10 stacks or 10 stacks plus 30 gunpowder. Now, of course, that number is going to vary simply because every time you kill a creeper, it is not guaranteed to drop gunpowder. And same thing goes with looting 3. So I tested it for an hour. We got 1,516 gunpowder, or 23 stacks plus 44 gunpowder. And of course, that number is also going to vary by roughly a stack, again, because it is not guaranteed to get the maximum amount of like 3 or 4 gunpowder per creeper every single time they die. So the way we get in and out of our AFK spot, I'm just going to show you real quick with XP on and switch over into survival real quick. So the way we get in and out of our AFK spot is we have the bubble column, which I mentioned is going to be where the XP drops. So you can go in here. What? Oh, that's right. So we occasionally are going to have a visitor because sometimes they spawn. If you just, it's okay. They're not hostile. They won't attack you. Just leave it there. So AFK mode is on, which means that we can't see it from here, but the lava is not active. So as the creepers are getting ground up, we are going to start gathering their XP. Now, keep in mind, as a disclaimer, this is not really an XP farm predominantly. This is going to produce large amounts of gunpowder, and it also has the convenience of creating a little chamber for you to create charge creepers for those that want to collect mob heads. With charge creepers, for those that don't know, charge creepers, whenever they blow up and attack the mobs, then they will drop their respective heads. This comes in handy for wither skull farming. If you blow up wither skeletons with a charge creeper, or if you blow up strays with a charge creeper, there's a 100% drop rate for your skulls. So with that in mind, this is not really an XP farm. However, while you're AFK in here getting your gunpowder, you might as well get some XP and, mend your tridents that you'll be using to charge your creepers. And then we have a quick way down. We have the water to reset our fall damage. As you can see, I did not get harmed at all from that drop. So we have a quick way up and we have a quick way down. All right, so as I mentioned, we have an AFK mode and we have a charged mode. Now the way this works is while it's in AFK mode, of course, we have the trident killers active. If we fly over here, as you saw earlier, trident killers are going. And this 2x2 piston door is closed. We have a 2x2 piston door or floor right over here as well. And so those just switch whenever we flick this. So if we go into charge mode on the master switch side, master switches on this control panel will affect all 4 farms. Okay, and then we have the modular switch. We'll get into that in just a moment. But as you can see, the creepers now drop down here and they fly over, or they float over on to this little containment open sky chamber. Of course, as you can see, the cover that lowers the light level to allow the creepers to spawn ends perfectly with them getting out of the water stream. So then once they are out of that water stream, we just get our tridents, wait for a thunderstorm, and oh, I don't think it's raining. I think we have I think it's raining, not a thunderstorm. I'm sorry. There we go. Let's try that again. There we go. And for those that don't know, whenever you charge a creeper, it will reach out in about another 3 or 4 blocks. So that's why we were able to get all 3 of them at once. So once you have them charged, then what we have here is on our modular switch, meaning this switch affects this farm and this farm only. This modular switch affects this farm and this farm only, or this branch of the farm, because this is one mega farm, right? So right now we have them in contain and charge mode because we're containing them and then we are charging them. Once we're done with that, we're going to flip the switch and they're going to go into the nether with what I like to call another way to farm, or another way out. And as you can see, actually, you know what we're going to do? Just to show you how safe it is. So I'm going to switch over into survival real quick. And you need to be no less than 3 blocks away in any direction for a creeper to not activate its detonation sequence, okay? So right now they can see us, but luckily we are far enough away that they will not actually ignite. And we have these iron bars here as a bit of a safety barrier. If you feel like you may jump over by accident, then use walls or use fences, something that's 1.5 blocks high. You'll still be able to charge your creepers, but you won't be able to go over, okay? So we're going to do another way to farm because I'm punny. And as you can see, they're looking at us, but they can't do anything. Now, in a couple tests, I did see them start to glow, but by the time they started to glow, they were already like right here and went straight under, and then they lost sight, and then they could not complete their detonation sequence. So trust me, you are completely safe as long as you set it up the way that I have. All right, now let's get into the most exciting part, or maybe the most terrifying, depending on how you view your redstone. Um, so the way this works essentially is, as we mentioned earlier, we have a control panel, and this is how it's going to look on the other side. I know it looks maybe a bit frightening. I tried to make it as compact and as less messy as possible. If anybody who's more experienced with redstone has any pointers on how to compact this just a little more, go ahead. Feel free to just let me know. I'm still trying to build my redstone knowledge, and I did the best that I could so far, and it works out pretty well. But with that in mind, if we go to our first master switch, this is going to be our AFK/charge mode. Now with a lever, by default, it has an off state and it has an on state. Okay, so if we put one right here, off state and on. But because we are using this switch to do two different functions, technically its off state is one input and its on state is a second input. So when it is off, or input A, it goes down into this yellow wool, which is going to be our master switch. It's going to affect all of our farms, and when it is turned off, it allows the trident killer to stay active. For those that don't know, trident killer is self-sustaining. Once you power it and then unpower it, it runs by itself, which allows the trident killer to keep going, and so that's how we get our gunpowder and our XP. Now, while that's happening, we have this is unpowered, so the torch tower just worked its way up. It's going to unpower this 2x2 piston floor on both sides, of course. And then it's going to, because we are using a torch tower, which is basically just vertical NOT gates, it's going to end up powering our 2x2 piston door, which, let's get over here, closes up right here. And because our 2x2 piston floor is open, they drop straight down. Now what's going to happen, we'll talk about those dispensers in just a moment. But what's going to happen is when I flick this on, or technically it's input B, all of this is going to invert. So this is going to stay powered, which means trident killer turns off. Torch tower is going to invert. It's going to power this, closing our 2x2 piston floor, unpowering this, opening our 2x2 piston door. And because the observers are here to detect the change in redstone every time we flick the switch on and off, when we turn this all on, it's going to detect that update and output a signal into our dispensers, which activates water, or outputs water, which flows into the rest of this water stream. And when we turn it off, it's going to retract that water. So if we take a look here, go ahead and we will flick that switch, and as you can see, door opens up, floor closes, water retracts. And then if we just close it up, it will do the opposite, like so. Now our second master switch is going to be, of course, our lag protection, or our overflow protection, okay? Whenever our storages get full, gunpowder, it would just pile up. So we have the lava here to incinerate that. If you don't want any XP, or if you're away from your farm and you don't want your experience orbs to build up at the top, causing entity lag, messing up your server or your single player world or whichever, then we have that lava on. So we just pretty much have dispensers on each branch, and it's all connected through here. The redstone wiring just powers all of this blue wool, which in turn powers our dispensers. And we just have it going through our vertical redstone line via glass, and it goes up into the lever. Now we have it set up, here we go, we have it set up with a lever and then an observer, because we want to be able to pulse it real quick with the flick of a switch, and then flick it again to pulse it afterwards to turn it on and off. So that's why we have the observer here. So whenever we turn this on, it will detect the update, emit a quick one-tick pulse, turn that all off, flick the switch again, detects the update, and outputs the lava again. As a quick intermission, just want to thank you all again for those that are still watching. I know this is a lot to go over, but I figure if we go over all of this now and separate this from the tutorial, it's going to make things a lot more easier to digest. So intermission over, let's go back into the rest of the redstone. Our final switch is going to be our modular switch. So we have them on all 4 branches, of course. And the way we have this set up is we have another way out, which means that the water is going to flow. We have charge and contain, which does that. And of course, we have ourselves the vertical redstone line. And when it is in charge and contain mode, the lever is powered on. So it sends our current into our 2x2 piston door, preventing them from escaping. And it's going to go down. The observer will detect that update. It's going to send a pulse through our torch tower NOT gates. It's going to quickly power the dispenser. And when it's in charge and contain mode, it's going to deactivate them or retract the water. And we just have the redstone line going around to the other side, doing the same thing. Now, when we flick it on, or off, should I say, to another way out, it does the reverse. The 2x2 piston door retracts, or the observer detects the redstone update, sends a signal, and it outputs the water, sending them into the nether. And of course, from the nether, you can set it up however you want. I would recommend setting something up like this if have your nether portal link up to an area near a nether fortress. So from there, it is much easier to gather up your wither skeletons to get your wither skeleton skulls. Now, a couple troubleshooting issues because this is bedrock. For those that don't know, bedrock is pretty famous for being a little buggy, to say the least. Specifically, our redstone gets affected a lot. So what we do is sometimes it'll act a little funny. So if you leave your world and then load it up without the switches being in a correct position, something like this may happen when you load it back up. Now, obviously, from what you've seen, this isn't the right way to do it. There's no water flowing, and the door is wide open. And this happens if you leave your switches in a on state, and then when the world loads up, it doesn't start off being powered. So then once it loads, it powers up, and the observer observes that update, even though it shouldn't, and then it just kind of trips your system and it flips things around. At least that is how I understand why it messes up. So keep that in mind because we're using observers, that may happen. So it's nothing breaking, like it's a quick and simple fix for troubleshooting your farm. So what you want to do is you can flick this lever and change the input-output state quicker than the observer can actually detect. So we can flick it twice, and that is going to trick the observer because the observer will not be able to detect the 2 redstone updates from flicking it on and off quicker than we can flick it ourselves. So as you saw, we just did it twice, just did a double tap real quick. We're in contain and charge, so it's containing and there is no water flowing. So just to show again, I'm gonna trick the observer. So if your world loads up like this, your water's flowing, but the doors are closed, you just have to trip it and give it a double tap. Now, from what I've been experiencing on how to prevent this issue altogether, before you exit your world, just make sure that all of your switches are flicked up in their default off state. And that is the best way so far that I found to prevent that little observer trip from happening. But if for some reason that does end up happening to you, then just go back to this reference guide on how to retrip your observers to get it back in its proper alignment. And on the topic of redstone being a little buggy on the bedrock edition, I'm sorry, chunk aligning your redstone is very important. Now, some of the stuff does overlap, but all of the main circuitry components, so like this entire master switch, the storage silo, should you choose to build one, that is all in one separate chunk, which is also another reason why we want to have all of our switches off because they overlap. But it's all in one chunk. And then we have this component right here, that entire orange line. All of this is in one whole chunk. And then our Trident Killer, the AFK and charge mode switches are all in one chunk. So I think for those reasons, because some of the stuff, of course, overlaps, the chunk borders like this master switch here, that may be a cause to some of the bugginess with the observers. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. But it's just a good practice to chunk align as much as possible. I could show, there will be a link down below in the description for those that aren't using console, that don't have a chunk resource pack, using the software known as Chunkbase to kind of figure out where your chunk borders are, and that will help properly align your farm. And once from there, you want to just start from the center of your chunk and work your way out. You're going to go out by about 5 chunks in total. 3, or from your center point, from your center hub, you're going to go out by 2 in each direction, but from one end to the other, it's going to be 5. And that's going to wrap up the Creeper Crucible, everyone. Thank you all again so much for sticking around. I am Timeless Traveler. I hope you enjoyed this farm and are looking forward to building this in your survival world. And of course, looking forward to the tutorial that I will be releasing sometime in the near future. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. Let me know what you think of this build. For those that are a little more advanced in redstone, feel free to let me know how to make it a little more compact. I would love to hear more about compacting redstone, because I'm really starting to get into it after doing stuff like this. So again, you all stay tuned for the tutorial, and I will see you all again sometime soon in the next video.